Welcome to Ojo de Liebre's lagoon, which is located about halfway between the U.S.-Mexico border and the southern tip of Baja California on the Pacific Ocean side. You are in luck because on this video, we're going to show you what it's like to interact with, reach into the water and touch and kiss, yes, I said kiss, the eastern North Pacific gray whales. The eastern North Pacific gray whales can live up to 70 years old. Male adults can be 49 feet long and females can be up to 55 feet long. They weigh 40 tons and that is 80,000 pounds. Oh my gosh. They are one of the biggest mammals in the world. As a newborn, they're 15 feet long and weigh 2,000 pounds. Whoa, that's a birth. Guy and I were about to see them, touch them, and I was gonna kiss one, or so I hoped. Each trip out, I was nervous, especially the first time. I was afraid that no whales would come to our boat, but every trip out, we had beautiful, close encounters with whales. Some came right up to be petted, and some seemed to play peekaboo from one side of the boat to the other side of the boat to the other side of the boat. So much fun. I do recommend that you wear clothing that is waterproof. It was not uncommon for us to be out in the wind and the cold, and every now and then a whale came up and thought that we were just a little bit too dry. Who knows if it was on purpose or not, but sometimes it seemed like it. Gray whales exhale through two slits called blowholes on the top of their head. Blasting out of two blowholes, their breath creates two misty towers that are high into the air. One of my favorite things was being caught in the mist of the whale breathing. To me, it felt magical. I have to say that not everybody on our boat agreed, though. On our first morning out on the boat, I was just so excited. I just wanted so badly to get my first kiss with a whale. I reached out and I leaned out and I reached out and I leaned out, but I was never able to put my lips on a whale. I asked the boat driver, what was I doing wrong? He said it was mostly just luck. Mostly, I said, and he said, yes, but there was once a little boy that got 5 whale kisses on his trip. I said, 5? How did he do that? The boat trip driver looked at me all seriously like, and he said, well, there were 3 things. I said, you gotta tell me, what were they? He said, number 1, the boy was willing to run all over the boat to where the whales were. I said, willing to run all over the boat where the whales are. Check, I can do that. He said, number 2, the little boy acted like he didn't have a lick of sense in his head. He said, able to act like I don't have a lick of sense in my head. Check, I can do that. He said, number 3, he was willing to put his head completely under the water to get a kiss. I said, willing to put my head completely under the water to get a kiss. Check! I can do that.
Yeah, it's like hold her underwater. Confirm.
Oh, yeah. I'm cooked, but that's fine. Water is running down me. Yes, I kissed it. Ah. Female whales give birth to a single calf at a time. The calf feeds daily 18.5 gallons of milk containing about 53% fat. That means these calves can gain 60 to 70 pounds per day. That way they're building up the blubber they need to be able to go on a long trip north. The calves nurse for 6 months and stay with their mother up to a year. Gray whales reach maturity around 8 to 9 years of age. And to increase the chances of success, females copulate with 3 males at the same time in a process that takes only a few seconds. We saw this once on our trip, and our boat captain gave them a wide berth. He said that the whales can get a little carried away in this process, and sometimes they didn't exactly pay attention to where the boat was relative to them. So it was good to give them plenty of room. I have to agree with that. A gray whale's pregnancy lasts for 12 to 13 months, so they can get pregnant one winter in the lagoon and give birth the following winter in the lagoon. Female gray whales mate every 2 years. Our Mexican partners wanted to make sure we realized that gray whales were obviously Mexican by birth. I guess so. Most of the year, gray whales are found mainly in the shallow coastal waters in the North Pacific. Most of the eastern North Pacific gray whales spend their summers feeding in the northern Bering Sea and in the sea between Alaska and Russia, but some feed along the Pacific coast during the summers, in the water off of southeast Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. They come to the lagoons of Baja California Sur for mating and having their babies. Gray whales make one of the longest annual migrations of any mammal, traveling about 10,000 miles round trips, and in some cases upward of 14,000 miles. This journey takes them 3 months of swimming at an average of 5 miles per hour, with depths up to 160 feet, but always parallel to the coastline. Along the way, they have to avoid killer whales, sharks, boats, and entanglement with fishing gear, which makes their path more difficult. Gray whales are filter feeders. Unlike other cetaceans, gray whales don't feed on plankton. This limits their competitions with other whales, so gray whales are primarily bottom feeders that consume a wide range of seafloor and above the seafloor invertebrates, such as amphipods. Gray whales suck sediment and food from the seafloor by rolling on their sides and swimming slowly along, filtering their food through 130 to 180 coarse baleen plates on either sides of their upper jaw. In doing so, they leave long trails of mud behind them and feeding pits on the sea floor. It should be noted that their most available food sources are left behind when they come to the lagoons. The gray whales are losing weight while they're down in the lagoon, and it's not uncommon for a few gray whales to succumb to starvation while they're down in the lagoon. Oh! Gray whales are actually born with black skin, but their bodies look gray from barnacles and whale lice on their bodies, with a higher concentration found on the head and the tail. These stick to the whale skin and form a hard shell that leaves a scar when they fall off. If you're planning on kissing whales, make sure you're careful, because I leaned down to kiss a whale and wasn't very careful and scratched my nose on the whale. I have to say that this is the favorite scratch I have ever gotten in my entire life. I mean, what else could be better than someone saying to you, "Oh my gosh, what happened to your nose?" And you get to say, "Oh, I was just kissing a whale." One of the behaviors that whales do is called spy hopping, and this is when they emerge vertically from the water straight up to observe their surroundings. This is another behavior of the whales. They stick their tail directly out of the water when they submerge. We refer to this as their waving goodbye as they left the boats. The migration from the north down to the lagoons begins in September to December for the pregnant females. Later, the juveniles and adult males and the females in heat arrive. Mothers and their calves can be seen in the lagoon starting in January, but the majority of the other whales aren't seen until February or March. At the end of the season, first the males and the females without calves return, and the last ones to return back to their northern sea land is the mothers with their calves. They try to stay as long as they can in the protected lagoons where the babies are safe to give them time to grow and strengthen for their long return trip to the Bering Sea. When in the lagoon, it is not uncommon to see mother whales pushing their baby whales up to the tourist boats so that they can experience interacting with the tourists themselves. This type of interaction is more likely to be seen in the lagoons in February or March. On our trip at the beginning of February, we only saw one young calf. There have been very few experiences in my life that have made me feel like I was 5 years old again. It filled me with wonder and excitement and magic. This was one of those experiences for me. On our trip, there were people who had come year after year after year to see the gray whales. I can certainly see why they do this. This is an amazing experience that I can't recommend enough. I hope you enjoyed your time with us.